What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review, and one that kind of goes way back in terms of the channel, in terms of bands that have reached out to us and we've covered over the years. We are going over the latest offering from Ashen, Leave the Flesh Behind. This also comes out on the 22nd of August on Redefining Darkness Records. This band formed in 2020, COVID-AD, in Australia, where they probably had an extra venomous batch of COVID.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
This is their second full-length overall. We have been a fan of this band since their first EP, Godless Oath. They had us up on social media, asked us if we would go over it, and we were still a fledgling channel, which we still kind of are, but we were more fledgling back then. But we checked it out. I was like, dude, this is really solid. We went over their first full-length, Ritual of Ash, and it was also pretty damn good, too. And for those that don't know, this is very gloomy, very dark, sinister HM2 death metal with almost kind of like a gothic kind of tinge to it.
Kind of at times, I guess, yeah. I mean, my story's the same. Got into him the same way he got into him. Yeah, they reached out to us very early on and they said, can we send you music? And we said yes. And then we sat down and realized that it sounded very much like things we already loved, and so we went for it. And it's kind of the same thing with this. I've had this album for a little while now. Shannon reached out to me and he said, hey, do you want to hear some of this? And I said, yes. And then we got to talking and he was like, all right, fuck it, I'm just going to send you the record. Don't tell anybody. So
here he is telling people.
So here I am telling people. It's okay, because by the time you see this, it'll be out anyway.
For me, I can be won over with an HM2 tone very easily. That's just kind of my nature. Yeah, I am the HM2 slut. And this, I mean, at least like it puts like an interesting spin on it, where this is very like mid-tempo, you know, very gloomy, very like melancholic at times, but still brutal as hell. Opens up with Devourer, which, you know, kicks in with some appropriate atmosphere. It's spooky strings. It sounds, I mean, like not as whimsical as Tim Burton, but like if Tim Burton was like serious about trying to scare someone, which I don't think he's ever been serious about trying to scare someone. He's just trying to woo goth girls into buying fucking figurines and shit.
It's not a bad marketing plan.
It's not a bad plan, actually. But then it explodes into these big, hefty, like machine gun tremolos. The tone of the guitar is on point. It sizzles. It's biting. Very crisp drums, too. The production here was done by Marco Tervonen of The Crown, and yeah, he did a great job here. Like, this is a very rich-sounding album, very full. You get a good kind of, like, sizzly bass underneath there, too.
It's sizzly, but it's warm at the same time. Like, it starts off that way, but the back end of the tone is very rich and full and warm. The drums are big and fat. They didn't seem to have a whole lot of compression on them. Just sounded like a very natural, deep-toned kit.
And great vocals. I really dig the vocals because he's got, like, a very clear delivery, but it's also very dramatic. Like, it's not just a, you know, like kind of a monotone roar. He kind of fluctuates, and certain sections he'll get into like a high, more like raspy scream. You know, it's very akin to Bloodbath. Like Bloodbath, if they kind of like laid more on the groove. Also bands like Endseeker, Wombbath, totally different bath. Also probably gross. I'd even throw in a band like Flesh Crawl and, well, a band we just went over, but most of their earlier stuff missed. Yeah, not very comparable to the new stuff, but yeah, much is.
Now, the band's previous offering, Ritual of Ash, I thought was a little bit more melodic, almost like flirting with mellow death.
A little bit.
Which was fine, because these guys are great riff writers. But this one, in this case, it has melody, but it's not overwhelming. It's enough to make these songs catchy.
Yeah, it feels darker and more sinister overall than the last one. Like, you know, in terms of Melodeath, again, it wasn't a bad thing. It was like early Melodeath, like, you know, early In Flames. I would say, like, Hypocrisy was kind of a big one, too. That kind of works with the vocals as well. But this one has, like, way more of, like, a sinister vibe on here. Like, there's a lot of melodies in here that, you know, they're catchy for people that are looking for something that's just like a little bit creepier, something that sounds a little bit devilish. Songs like Reincarnate and Infinite Sea have like almost sort of like a Death Doom tinge to them. They sound like just evil as shit. And the riff changes, they kind of go back and forth between like just laying on some like hefty old school death metal riffs. I mean, just, you know, the tried and true ones that'll always fucking get, you know, well, people like us banging their heads. But then adding like sinister melodies on top. Reincarnate in particular, I really like the buzzing, swarming sort of, tremolos that kick it off and how they work it into the main riff. It becomes like this almost like disorienting sort of thing. Like, remember Amityville Horror with all the fucking flies in the room?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like that, except, a little bit less disgusting. And Infinite Sea comes in with this just wave of like misery and darkness. I really like how that one just comes in. Really fun grooves on that too. Like, a lot of this is very straightforward, a lot of double time drumming, but every now and then you get some really fun off time grooves that are just like a little bit clever, a little bit outside of the pocket. Infinite Sea and Blood Offering in particular.
Yeah, Blood Offering for sure.
Yeah.
Actually, Blood Offering has probably one of the more notable off-time grooves. Like, I don't think it was just a groovy pocket at that point or like a little hitch. Like, that one is straight off-time, and then the other times when they appear more as syncopated grooves. Like, these guys are very riffy and very mid-tempo at that. Like, a majority of what's on here is just slow, brooding heaviness. Especially songs like Ageless. Ageless is a goddamn banger. That triplet chug groove that's on the end of that tag is particularly nasty. But that's another one with a syncopated groove too. It's got some very unsettling harmonies in there, and the end is particularly brutal.
And there's some stuff on here that I would just kind of call like flat out like rock beats, like 4/4 time drums. I know they're from Australia, and it might be cliche for me to say like an AC/DC groove, but I kind of just said it. But yeah, like just a straightforward kind of groove. And some of these riffs on here, like it almost has like a death and roll sort of swagger to it. Reincarnate, while it did start off very doomy, very just, evil sounding, it gets into like this kind of stomp on the verses, and it kind of has like a little bit of like just a flat out sort of like rock vibe to it. But of course, heavier than, any rock band would ever fucking attempt.
A rock vibe is done by Bolt Thrower. There's a lot of Bolt Thrower stomps in here. A majority of these songs have stomp sections in them. Very just by the book, just pound, pound, pound. And you're like, all right, cool.
Yeah, and I mean, with the give and take between like some of the like gloomier, more like Death Doom sections, the halftime moments, you could say Asphyx as well.
Yeah.
Minus, the throat shredding vocals. And there's a fair amount of atmosphere in here. In fact, like, it might have been like a little bit too much in terms of like the start of certain tracks, because I want to say like the first 4 tracks all had like, I don't want to call them like stock intros, but they're like the spooky intros and such.
Thunderstorms and heartbeats and rain.
Fiddles
and
ooh.
A little bit of like War March going on.
Yeah. And, they're good to set up songs. And I like that they're not like a separate track or something like that. Like, oh, hey, we had to reserve 30 seconds for an interlude in between every 3 or 4 tracks.
Yeah.
But I do feel like they kind of like overuse them. I like the atmosphere that is actually in the song, whether it's with the guitars and like the creepy harmonies, or occasionally it sounds like there's like some synths in the background to add just like, a little bit of like texture to the music, kind of, smooths out some of the like just raucous fucking disgusting guitars a bit.
It's very layered, but it's very well done. Like, I don't have really any gripes on that. Like, although there's a lot going on, it's not suffocating and dense. It's creepy, but like they had harmonies in the back of something. Maybe a little bit of like low end cello or just some creepy synths. Like, again, very well done, but not crowded.
And it's also not too like, straightforward. Like, this doesn't feel as though like it's just straight up meat and potatoes. There's a lot of attention to melodies. There's a fair amount of transitions in each song, but they don't feel too busy, but they also don't feel too just, straightforward. Now, intros, being kind of overused was my only issue with this. I like all the music. This is, again, riffier than hell. It's got the HM2 tone. Production's awesome. But I will say it is a little one note in terms of like the pace of the album, because a lot of the album is very mid-tempo, and that kind of leads, songs to kind of run into one another. You do get like pockets of like blast beats or D beats, and that's good that it does break up the songs a bit, but often I don't think they hang out long enough to really have like a big impact on the song. Like, Severed in particular was probably the first one where I was like, okay, they're really kind of like laying on the faster parts a bit. And that made the song stand out a bit because, again, it wasn't just all about the groove and the riffs. Same thing with the title track, too. Like, there's a really good blasty section on there to kind of break it up, but I feel like it could have hung out a lot, especially with the awesome tremolo harmonies on there.
Dude, that tremolo riff is nasty.
Catchier than hell. And, when the blast hits, like, dude, like, meld those two together a little bit more. And I think you'd have a song that would stand out just, like, a little bit more, because another issue is there's a bit of repetition on here.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong, the riffs that they're using are catchy and they will definitely get stuck in your head, but in a majority of these songs, they hold on to one riff and it doesn't really disappear. And even when they expand on it, the root of it is still there. And like, it just kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say made it bad because the riffs are good, but it sticks around for a minute, and it does it in most songs.
Occasionally there are moments where they do kind of break that up just enough, like just, the same riff except they play it a different way. Like, all right, instead of like doing like the chugified version of it, we'll do the tremolo version of it. Mm-hmm. That does help, but there are points where this album kind of drags a little bit. But overall, this is pretty good. And I honestly like it more than the last one, just because I feel like the darker vibe in there really just echoes like this band's overall sound. Like this is almost more like Godless Oath, which I really fucking dig. But I feel like they kind of like stretched out their comfort zone a little bit on here. So overall, I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars. And I know I gave the last one 3.5 stars, but this is a stronger 3.5 stars, if that makes any sense. It's closer to 4. Like I think this is definitely an improvement. I like the tone and vibe of this one much more. Yeah. Nothing against having like the Melodeath stuff in there on the last one, but I think this suits them. Like I like the vibe on here. It feels sinister. It feels dark. The production here is fantastic. The tone is on point. I'm very, almost nearly kind of picky about my HM2 tones. I love them all.
Salute.
Yeah. No, I'm a filthy whore for them. But yeah, this album is chock full of nasty riffs. It's got a good amount of melody to kind of keep it a little bit spookier at times. I like the Death Doom sections on here. I just think there could be like a little bit more variety, like in terms of pace, and like give us, a couple of fast songs, a couple of slow, super slow brooding ones. Because man, when they slow down and let that tone ring out, oh, it's so fucking nice. We love that shit. But yeah, if you're a big fan again of like Bloodbath and Wombbath and like Endseeker, Revel in Flesh, and again like early Best, or however you said that band's name, Bass. Anyway, if you like that band too, check this one out.
I'm also going to go ahead and give this a 3.5, and again, it's a pretty strong 3.5. This is a pretty solid record. Very riffy, very dark, very evil. We're back to the sinister tone. I agree that works out pretty well for this band. Not that I didn't like the last record, but like, this band lives in a darker place, and that's good for them. It's great for their sound. I like the vibe of everything. It's just a bunch of slow, lurching, heavy evilness. That's pretty cool. I'll never argue that at all. Also, it is nice to hear the more HM2 sound return because, well, I'm not as big of a slut or sloot or whatever you want to call it as Nick is. I also really do like that shit.
Is it trollop or a strumpet?
Trollop. I think they did a great job as far as mixing this record and the overall presentation of everything. I really dug it. If you like bands like we've mentioned, Bloodbath, Bolt Thrower, Early Best, give the Miet to the Best. I don't know. But if you're into those bands, I recommend giving this a listen.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you were new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We also have memberships. They are only 99 cents, and our lone perk is doing a members-only live stream, which we do need to get back to. We owe you guys, and we will figure out something here in terms of, like, getting some time off and doing it. But memberships are the main way to support the channel, and if you would like to join up and, well, I mean, talk with me about, like, all the HM2 bands. I mean, you can talk with him about them, but I'm the slut. You want to talk to me about it. Yeah, I'll be your filthy girl in that conversation. Just hit the join button.
He is very STD riddled, though, so watch out.
Sick transitional dive bombs.
That's it. That's it 100%. You guessed it. It was a good job.
Stupid tall dick.
That's even more fair. Even if you don't hit the membership button, that's cool. We do non-members only live streams, which we also need to get back to. We get discography rankings coming, Nick's never-ending collection updates, states of metal, is it not metal, all the time, tons of discussion forums. We always got stuff going on. Pretty much 7 days a week, there's something cool coming from Thralls. And we do it all because of you guys. And we appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of this channel and continuing to come hang out and watch and talk to us and all the wonderful shit you guys do. We appreciate you. Couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule. Tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.